Okay, with the rising popularity of the Linux kernel and the GNU/Linux operating system, I've decided to make a quick guide on the best ways to actually learn Linux and learn the ins and outs of the whole operating system and Bash and stuff like that for power users, because Linux has been gaining attention recently and is getting more and more attention on the daily basis, and it makes me really happy because it's a much more ethical operating system compared to Microsoft Windows or macOS, who are that are obviously proprietary and loaded with stuff that are just supposed to monitor your activity. And yeah, so I'll be offering you a newbie's perspective on the best ways you can actually learn the tools and utilize the full power of your GNU/Linux operating system. Uh, and yeah, that's what I will be teaching you this video. Keep in mind that I'm still a newbie. I've just started using the system like 4 or 5 months ago, I'm not sure, and all of this stuff I'm making is really there's a lot more to cover, and I don't know everything by any means, but I'm pretty sure I have a good grasp on the stuff you will be facing while starting to learn Linux after switching from Windows or macOS. So the first thing you think when you think Linux, you probably think Ubuntu or other distributions similar to Ubuntu with pretty graphical environments, and there's Ubuntu, there's Pop! OS, and there's many more. And to use these distributions, you don't really need to learn anything. If you're on Windows or macOS, I highly encourage you to just try these distributions. If you want to try them, just Google like how to set up a virtual machine, or you can flash them on a USB and try to boot from a USB, but it's not a tutorial today, so I won't be covering that. But these distributions, when you use them, I'm not saying if you use them you're bad, because there are many much more powerful users than me who are using these distributions, and they make obviously cool stuff. But if you're a beginner, I do not recommend you use these distributions, because they're just too simple. They do not force you to use the command line. They do not force you to learn anything. They actually discourage you from doing that by having pretty GUIs and menus, and that you can install any package without touching the command line, and that's good for some people. Like, I do think these distributions have place, but if you want to become a power user, you have to stray away from using distributions like these and try something that's not Debian based, because the issue with these distributions is that they are Debian based, and Debian is a very nice Linux distribution, but for a beginner it's just straight up boring. Like, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying it's really good, and I use Debian for some purposes. Like, I run it on my Raspberry Pi to have a server when I need a server. But the best distributions for beginners are Arch Linux based distributions like Manjaro. And you might ask, why Manjaro? Because like, Manjaro also has these pretty GUIs, has set menus for everything. Why is it different from Ubuntu or Pop! OS? And I'll tell you why it's different. It's based on Arch Linux, and Arch Linux is really different from Debian, because first of all, uh, uh, first of all, Arch Linux is rolling release. Yeah, I've just destroyed your illusion of this video being actually edited. I'm just in my Arch Linux. Uh, I'm here. Yeah, that's just my computer. That's how I use it every day. I have key bindings for everything, and I'm using something that's called a tiling window manager, and we'll get to that later. Arch Linux is rolling release, and that means that every package here in its package manager, I'll assume you already know what a package manager is, but you know, I can explain it here. Package manager, think of it as your Google Play Store or your App Store if you're from iPhone, or other proprietary garbage manager you use on your proprietary operating systems. But here it's much cooler because you type stuff in the command line and you install your programs that way. If I wanted to install, let's say, something to edit my films in so they aren't as stale as they are right now, I would search for Kdenlive, which is the best, at least I think so, because I've never edited anything in my life, open source program to edit your videos in, and you would just install it by executing a command. And I've already have Kdenlive installed, so the installation process is really simple and quick. But why rolling release matters and what rolling release means? Rolling release and bleeding edge are kind of tied together, because when something is rolling release, it has only one version, and unlike Debian, which has releases, Arch Linux was the same for I think 18 years, because I'm pretty sure Arch Linux is 18 years today, although I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. And it's the same version, it's just Arch Linux, and not like Arch Linux 3.0 or 20.06 or something. It's just Arch Linux, because every package that just gets updated just gets thrown into Pacman, and here are all the packages. There are many of them. There are literally tons and tons of them. And that's actually really good. You might think that's more unstable, and in some cases, yeah, Arch Linux can be more unstable, but that's the beauty of Arch Linux and Arch Linux based distributions. It is as unstable as as somebody made it, because there are many very stable Arch Linux distributions. For example, Manjaro. Manjaro is one of these distributions that if you don't mess something up by yourself, everything works, but you still get all of the benefits of using Arch Linux, because Debian is really has a just a release model. I can spell okay, never mind. You get my point. You don't get the freshest and greatest packages by default. You have to add repositories to do that, and that's a mess. And Arch Linux is great for beginners and using Arch Linux based distributions is great for beginners because you're kind of getting your feet wet. You'll kind of learn how to use Arch Linux. I discourage you from using GUI package managers, because you have something like a GUI package manager in Manjaro, I'm pretty sure, where you download stuff like you would download from Google Play, but it's just you don't learn anything by doing it, and if you want to become a power user, you just have to use the terminal. That's just a must. And when you're using Arch Linux based distributions, you're really getting your feet wet and preparing yourself for installing Arch Linux. And my next point for learning Linux, I kind of made a list here if you want to copy it and just read it and, get spoilers. Here it is installing Arch Linux. I'm speaking from experience here. I was very bad at Linux before I installed Arch. I didn't know how to mount a drive. My issue was that I had a drive, a pen drive I plugged in, and I couldn't access the pen drive because for some reason, no, it wasn't a pen drive. It was a drive I had in my computer. Like here, I can try to access the drive in a GUI environment, and it gives me not authorized to perform operation. And I had the same thing when I was using Manjaro XFCE, and I didn't know what to do. Like, I knew something was on the drive, but I couldn't like figure out how to access it, and it was really a pain in the ass. I didn't know how to mount drives. So this drive was just auto-mounted by my system. I didn't know where it was mounted. I didn't know by who. I didn't have permissions to access the drive, and that just sucked. And installing Arch Linux was really a big help from me, because when you're installing Arch Linux, you will be doing all of the stuff you will be doing in Bash by daily basis while using Arch Linux. If you choose to use the system the cool way and not just install a desktop environment and use it regularly. But you're mounting drives, you're downloading packages, you're editing stuff in the command line, you're using command line tools, and that's the key to learn Linux. And the next thing I wanted to focus about is to uh, watch Linux creators on YouTube and Odyssey if you prefer decentralized platforms like Odyssey that are more privacy respecting, but YouTube is the most popular, so what can you do? And I've kind of cherry-picked 3 YouTubers that I think are the best for you to kind of realize that goal. I don't worry, Invidious is just YouTube, is just like more privacy respecting, but that's not the point of today's video. So here we have DistroTube, which is my guru. He does almost daily uploads about Linux and latest and greatest Linux software, and he just made his whole channel about Linux. Every video here is about Linux or free software philosophy. So you can really learn a lot of stuff while watching the videos. For example, where was the video? When this video is just okay, I get an error. Never mind. Pretend that this video is up on the screen right now, but in this video he was showcasing his script to deploy his xmonad configs. Xmonad is a window manager, and a window manager is a desktop environment, but much more minimal and much cooler, and I'll explain everything later. But for now, just keep in mind that he was deploying some stuff and he made a cool script, and he was showcasing the script in the video. And stuff like this can give you many ideas to do stuff yourself, and understand how the system works, where the config files are stored, how the system reads config files, and how the individual programs read config files. It's just great to watch that stuff, and really, when you watch YouTubers like DistroTube and really enjoy watching these videos, because I think he's a charismatic guy. He really talks. He has a really interesting way of talking about stuff. So yeah, it's just the key to find what you're doing entertaining, and these people like show entertaining things. Bugs Writer is a person I'll show later, but Mental Outlaw is another person who doesn't do Linux mainly. Mainly he does like privacy stuff and like dark web stuff and guides and stuff like that. But then again, he has videos like these and these where he showcases cool scripts or even does tutorials and that's actually really cool because his videos are really entertaining. He's also a really charismatic person, and his videos are often like, you know, more on the non-serious side, but like you get knowledge from them, and often you'll just discover a script or discover a command line utility you didn't know existed, and you know, uh, it's the key because you'll enjoy yourself if you're like me when you're watching this channel, and if you enjoy what you're doing, you're just in the right place and you're in the right mindset to learn Linux. Because if you are learning Linux and you're forcing yourself to do it and you're not having fun, you're not going to learn anything because it will just be boring for you. You will kind of use every opportunity to go and do something else and not learn Linux. You will get distracted, and that's just not the way to go. Spin up a VM and experiment, and VMs are really nice tools if you are on I can't type and talk at the same time, I'm really sorry. But VMs are amazing tools if you want to test something off. I'm not going to launch any of them because reasons, and it will probably just sound bad because they often mess with sound servers. I use Pipewire. I'm not really sure about Pipewire, but when I've been using Pulse Audio and I was still using VirtualBox, VMs really messed with my audio, but whatever. Now I'm using Pipewire, and I'm not sure if it works like that, but let's just leave it at that. And using VMs to experiment with Linux, even if you are on a different operating system, is a way to go. Like you don't want to just install Linux on your daily driver, on your daily machine you use every day, instantly, because then you will see that you don't understand maybe everything. Maybe you will understand like 99% of stuff, or less. It depends, because it depends on the distribution you install. It depends if you're coming from Windows or Mac OS. It depends on many factors, and it depends if you have programming experience. Programming is absolutely not necessary to learn Linux, but it sometimes helps. Yeah, then that like 10% of stuff or 20% of stuff you don't understand will kind of stress you out and overshadow the 80% of stuff you do get, and you will get discouraged instead of getting discouraged. So VM is like a computer inside of your computer. You probably know what a virtual machine is if you're like if you're interested in IT. So it's really good to just test things out before you give it install it on real hardware. But then again, this video is not a tutorial, so I'm not going to like show you any of the installation stuff actually. And explore free and open source software. Free and open source software is like essential, maybe not essential, but it's really nice to have on Linux, and many people connect Linux with free and open source software, and I think that makes sense because Linux is free and open source, and GNU Linux is free and open source because Linux is just a kernel. But it's the video is not about it's not about that. You will probably need to stray away from using Microsoft products or Adobe products and search for open source alternatives. And that's actually really good. I think that's really good because Adobe products and Windows products are overpriced, and they sometimes are buggy. Like, I'm not saying that no piece of free and open source software is buggy, because some of them are, but you'll find that bugs can be easily reported and fixed when it comes to free and open source software, but when it comes to like Adobe stuff or Microsoft stuff, it just you might have a bug, or it might be slow, or it might be spying on you, because yeah, obviously proprietary software will spy on you. They will use every occasion they have to collect your data and sell it to advertisers. So don't be surprised that you will getting ads in your Google browser that are closely tied to what you were typing in your Word document 20 minutes ago. And that's just another benefit of open source software, that you basically, if there was any like telemetry and selling your data, community would find it and they would like raise a big outrage about it. So like LibreOffice is a really good alternative to Microsoft Office and all of the closed source proprietary spyware Office suites. And you have a lot of the, like open source stuff on Linux. Most of the open source software is written with Linux in mind, because Linux is free and open source, and if someone agrees with the free and open source software philosophy, they just won't do programs, or they will not prioritize programs for macOS or Windows, because those platforms are not open source and they spy on you. And now I'm going to get to the second phase, second chapter of my video. I'm not really good with English is not my primary language, so forgive me if I say something wrong. And that's learning Bash. And Bash is the language you have in your terminal. The language you use here. When I type stuff here, they get, here it is, Bash. Here it is. It just gets interpreted in Bash. So, like when I was using Pacman, it's a Bash command, and it was treated as such. So Bash is a programming language, like Python or C++ or any other language you use, but then again, it's kinda different. I'll explain it in a second. With Bash, all of the commands are especially designed to work well in a terminal, and look good here, and they are and be easy to type. Easy to type is the word I was searching for, because if you were in a Python shell, for example, all of the commands are kind of tedious to type, because you have to like figure stuff out. You have to make these functions. If I were to print something, then I had to like do these braces and do stuff here, and then I'd have to like travel with my cursor, and it's really not great. But here in Bash, and yeah, it's just hard to type sometimes. Here in Bash, you can do everything by just, typing stuff after each other, and Bash has this amazing thing that's called piping. So you can like pipe your stuff into different programs, and there are many. The best thing about Bash is the fact that you have Pacman and other like software centers, package managers, where you can install Bash programs, and you have Bash programs for everything, command line programs for everything. Like I can show you a few of my Bash scripts I made. So first, let's go with little like lightweight search engine, and we can choose okay, let's do that again. We can choose to search with weeby.me or DuckDuckGo. These are two search engines that I like. And if we search something with DuckDuckGo, like Linux, we get output, because I had a key binding for a script I made, and then you choose a website you want to visit, and like let's just visit linux.org, and I've downloaded a lightweight browser with no tabs and no bloat. It's a suckless browser, and you can easily view stuff like this, and it's a script that I mostly use for showing off, but again, that's the most important thing. Pick a cool project. This should be first here. You have to pick a project that you would want to use, because this is just cool. It's not very practical. I just prefer to open LibreWolf, which is my browser, and search for stuff that way. But it's so cool to have like all these search results here, and just, that's just really, really cool to be able to see that stuff in your terminal. And next script I made is a script for playing YouTube, and this script was the most popular thing I've ever done in my life, because it had like 30 stars on GitHub, and you can search things on YouTube with it, like search channel mental outlaw, for example, and it will search channels, and then you can use commands. And you know what, actually screw that, because I've just remembered that this is written in Python, but I've made a better version of this, which is written in Bash, that has like a little menu. When you look at the top of my screen, I have a little menu, so I can search for videos that way, and I can play like audio only, and I can like do all of this cool stuff, like make playlists and stuff. And this is a cool Bash project, that Bash script I made, which has like 400 lines of code, but when you look at the project, like most of these lines are almost empty. Like, look at this. I didn't type anything this line. These lines are comments. This is an empty line. This is an empty line. This is an empty line. You don't really have to type a lot, and I'm utilizing a lot of programs I installed, because when you do a Bash script, and Bash scripting is another thing that is really cool, and is like, it's the best programming language in my opinion when you're on Linux, because you can just use everything you would launch normally. You can use everything that you would use on your system and just do it here. So if there is a thing that you are doing on your computer, you can do it with Bash scripting. That's just a fact, and that's just amazing. Because you can automate many things. Like, I've made a little short script that I have in my config slash qtile I have here, and this script is 3 lines of code, and this script is sending me a message on Matrix every time somebody logs into my account. And because I have it auto start whenever somebody logs in. So this is actually really cool, because if somebody guessed my password, I would know it right away, and I know nobody is snooping on my computer. But I have so much personalized key bindings and all that stuff that I'm not really sure if they would be able to use my computers use my computer normally anyway. But that's not the point. Don't watch tutorials. Like, pick a cool project. That's a base for you when you learn Bash scripting. Don't watch tutorials. Use your terminal. I've already said when I was talking about learning Linux, and like actually knowing how your system works, and knowing how to mount drives and do everything in the command line. But use your terminal is basically a requirement to learn all of this stuff, so I will not repeat myself. And don't watch tutorials. And what do I mean by that? Not watching tutorials is essential, because when you watch a tutorial, like a 4-hour course on Bash scripting, you are not going to be interested in that. You will be interested in like learning Bash. Like, I've done one tutorial in Bash, just one. I've watched half of it, and then I decided I'm bored, and I'll just start a project and figure out the rest from Stack Overflow. So that's the best workflow you kind of can have. is to just type a command every time you start a bash script. You start it with typing stuff in your terminal, just regularly. Like, for example, if I want to scrape a website, I want to scrape gnu.org, I want to get some information from gnu.org, I would type in a command www.gnu.org, and then I get output in my terminal, and then I would decide I want to get, for example, I don't know, I want to get this text, and maybe not only this text, but then I would be like, okay, so I would use a tool for parsing HTML, and I would do something like this, and then it's formatted in a better way, and you can like see it better, and it's much more readable, it's much more nice, it's much nicer. And then, for example, if I were to extract links, I would do something like this, and it depends really what I want to do, but here are all the links you can find on that website, and then I can take this command, copy it, and put it in a script, and like work from here. I can store it in the variable, and like extract the URLs from these like HTML tags, and you can do so much cool stuff here. It's unreal. And the best projects and the most interesting projects in Bash I've done are using like the curl program that just downloads HTML, because you can make like interfaces for websites that don't force you to use your browser, and you have them in your terminal here, and that's really amazing because it's just cool. You have a cool thing you can do. Like I made it's not an interface for the website, that's a really neat program that's very easy to use, because in C++, if you want to have GUI or Python, you have to learn a lot of these libraries and all that stuff. In Python it's much easier, obviously, like, but these languages are just, tedious to learn. But if I want to have a GUI here, I just do something like this, and here you go. Here you can see in the here on the top of my screen, I have a simple GUI. I can choose stuff, and when I click on some stuff, it returns something. So that's really cool. I can like make it vertical, and the key to learning Bash, another key. I know that I said key a lot. Like, there are a lot of keys to learn Bash. Like, there are a lot of stuff you can do to make your Bash learning journey a lot cooler. Is to just find cool programs and put them in your scripts. Like, dmenu is a really cool program that you can integrate in almost any script, and it's just so cool to have like a little menu pop up here. And then so yeah, don't watch tutorials, just do a project. When you have basic understanding of Bash, do a project, and if you don't understand something, you do this. It's the most logical thing you do. Like, if I don't know how to substitute a part of a string, I can just Google how to substitute a part of a string, Bash, and then I'll get how to replace substring in Bash natively, and DuckDuckGo really has my back, and they already have a solution here, and yeah, that's how you do it. And you really learn this stuff while you make scripts. And don't be shy of just googling stuff and checking out other people's code online, because that's how you learn, and that's the most interesting way to learn, and you'll have fun while doing it. And why I say study other people's code, because that's like wait a second, here is the program. That's a program that I didn't make. That's a program that used for torrenting, obviously legal torrents like Linux Mint. I can obviously search a Linux Mint ISO here and then click enter and torrent Linux Mint, but I won't do that, I will cancel. Obviously only legal torrents are allowed in this program, obviously. Don't try any illegal, don't try piracy, obviously, because I'm on YouTube and I can't advocate for piracy here, so, you know, don't do it. Okay, but here is the script he made, and you can study this script, you can see how it works, and you can learn stuff to just, you know, do things yourself. This script was using a different torrent client, but I replaced it with Qubit torrent because that's the one I use. And you can really like look at. I know if you don't know Bash, that's just gibberish to you. You won't get anything of this. But when you learn a bit of Bash, you will just you will see that you get some of it, because I don't get some of it. Like, I don't know why he like divides his commands like that. That might be that like it doesn't matter, but I'm not really sure. I haven't studied it like thoroughly. But then again, I didn't have to. He already made it, and it's just really cool to use other people's scripts. And that's Bugs Writer, the guy who made the script, has a really nice YouTube channel, and I've been watching a lot of his videos recently. Like, I've been just watching video after video, because he has many like here, basic set substitution for beginner, cool share script to improve your vocabulary. He has a lot. He makes very cool things, like very cool things in Bash, and that's just. He can really get you hooked on Bash scripting, and he can really explain some stuff in a very maybe funny or like just, you know, easy to understand way. So yeah, I really recommend this channel to you. That's the best channel to watch if you want to learn Bash. Maybe like it's not the only thing you do if you want to learn Bash. You don't just watch this channel and become a Bash legend in an afternoon. But you have to do stuff yourself. Like, you have to not Google, like search things with DuckDuckGo, because it's better, obviously, and like privacy, respecting search engines. But you have to really get your education in yourself, and that's really satisfying when you do that. And if I'm not really sure if I was about to say anything else, but I know I can't do something if I'm not interested in it. And if you pick a cool project, you will be just like, oh my god, this is so cool. I can't wait to do it. Like this. This was supposed to be like a really short program, but now it's yeah, I've already showed you this, but it's like really long. It's like let's just skip to the end. 463 lines of code, and all of this code I wrote and I understand and I like, and that's just really cool. And then you can upload the stuff to GitHub. And yeah, that is very important. That is very important. I forgot to tell you about this, and I would end the video without telling you this. Upload the stuff you do on websites like GitHub or GitLab, because not only is it good if you want to find a job in the future, and your employer will look at your GitHub page, and he or she will be like, okay, that is a really they will be like, okay, that's a really good GitHub page. You have like interesting programs here, or maybe not interesting programs, but I really like the way you write code, and I will just hire you because you have many projects you do on your GitHub, and that means you have experience with making real projects. But people can give you feedback, and feedback is the most important thing, because when you make something, you want to share it with people, usually. and you want people to like grade it, tell you if they like it, what you can improve, what you can do better, what you did really cool, and then people can take your code. Remember to always license your stuff under an free and open source license, since it is good for other developers, and it incentivizes like, you know, making better programs and improving the programs that already exist, and making variations, and just cool like it embraces the individuality of a developer, because everyone can take the script you wrote, and then they will probably credit you, and they will like do some variation of the script, and then it might get popular, and by extension your script might get popular, and everybody is happy, because not only did people get two scripts, one is like yours and one is like modified by the other person, and some people might prefer some people might prefer the other one, but like nobody is worried that, oh my god, now I'm breaking the law, now I'm using this program without anyone's consent, and free and open source is just really good for that. So yeah, publish your stuff and make a page for yourself, pick a community you like, and share your programs with them. Talk with other people who know a lot, or maybe not a lot, but some things about Linux, and get your knowledge from them. Like, it's some people say learning is boring, but learning is as boring as you make it. Learning can be really interesting, and if you are motivated to learn, you will learn much better than if you weren't motivated. So yeah, that's just my first video on this channel, and if you want to subscribe, I might do more, but I might not do more, whatever. I have school, so yeah, now I'll have to probably learn editing, so that will be painful probably. That's it.